So this week we're talking about quantitative methods. And there's two types of quantitative methods or design plans that we use. One is survey research and the other one is experimental design. This module, module number 1, speaks specifically to surveys, defining surveys, what are the elements or what are the components of a survey design, why do we do it, how do we explain it, how do we collect data and analyze. So that's what we're going to be going through with a series of lecture videos in this particular module. So as far as defining what surveys are, it is a quantitative type of survey, and it's usually used to describe some kind of trend, attitudes, or opinions of a population. We're testing for some type of association. Is there a relationship between these two variables? So example, if we're looking at a specific drug that we're testing and its impact on high blood pressure, hopefully it's lowering high blood pressure, is there an association there? Is there an association between the hours that someone is working and the stress level that they're experiencing, right? So those are the types of quantitative studies we'd be looking at if we're doing survey research. We're always studying, not always, but most of the time we're studying a sample of a specific population. So to some degree we have to be familiar with sampling techniques and the different types of sampling techniques we could use, because for any number of reasons we can't survey in a population unless we're doing a census. If we're doing a census, we're going to try to get a survey out to everybody, but as you can imagine, that's cost prohibitive. There's a lot of information. It's hard to kind of break that down and analyze it. So for any number of reasons, we pull a sample out of a population. But when we do that, we want to make sure we're getting a representative sample of the population that we're studying, because if we don't, then our study is really going to have no meaning or no significance. So we're going to look at the components of a survey plan in this module. So we will be looking at the survey design, the purpose and the reason for doing survey research, and then what are some of the elements you should look for when you're looking for those survey articles or conducting your own survey research. We'll have a lecture on population and sample. Again, this is a research methods class. We get into a lot of the methods used in both quantitative and qualitative research, but classes in and of themselves are dedicated just to sampling and sampling techniques, sampling errors and things like that. This class covers a lot of topics, so to get into the weeds that deep, we're just not going to have time to do something like that. But we are going to talk a little bit about what do we mean by population, what do we mean by sample, and then just some different sampling techniques that we possibly could use for our research. Instrumentation is big, and it's probably one of the biggest questions that students have when they're conducting their own research. Do I create a survey? Can I use an existing survey? Can I modify an existing survey? And the answer to all those questions are probably no, yes, and yes, because it's very difficult to create your own survey. It could take years to create a valid and reliable survey. So we kind of dissuade students from doing that. But you should know what a valid survey is, what a reliable survey is, and possibly even where do I look for these surveys and how do I get permission to use them. So instrumentation is very important. What are we talking about when we talk about the variables in the studies, when we talk about dependent variables and independent variables, possibly even modifying or mediating variables? And again, that's a much more complicated topic and much more difficult statistics to use, so we don't get too deep in there, but it's beneficial to know what exactly we mean by that. And then data analysis and interpretation. What can I use? What are some of the software packages, the statistical software packages that I could use to analyze my data, and how do I interpret those results to say that yes, there has been a difference, there is no difference, or there is an association, or there is no association. So those are the various lectures that we have in this module about survey research.